Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you join us this evening for our What is Music Therapy webinar. My name is Pam Landsbergen. I'm a certified music therapist, and I'm the business operations manager for JB Music Therapy.
And I'm Shannon Robinson, and I'm the head of operations for clinical services for JB Music Therapy.
So, since we're expecting quite a few people to join us this evening, we are going to have everyone on mute for now. But we will have a few opportunities for discussion throughout the presentation. So at those moments, you can raise your hand to speak to the conversation, or you can also add your comments into the chat. We'll be monitoring both. JB Music Therapy is located in Calgary, Alberta. This land was originally known as Mohkinstsis, named by the Blackfoot Nations and situated on Treaty 7 territory, a land where connections and music have been woven into the fabric of the community since the beginning of time. If you're joining us from anywhere other than Calgary, which that includes me as well, we invite you to take a few moments now to consider the land that you reside in. Thanks.
Okay, well, before we dive right into talking about what music therapy is, we felt it was important and helpful for you to give some thought to how music impacts your life. We have three key questions to give some thought to today that you can reflect on here with us now, and they may be questions that you take away with you and continue to think about. And your answers will likely change from year to year. They may even change from day to day or hour to hour, depending on where things are at for you. So, one of the first questions, or one of our three questions, is how are you using music in your life right now? So, take a minute to think about how are you using it? What time of day do you often turn on the radio or turn on a playlist? What reason are you using music for? So is there an activity that you are connecting it with? Maybe it's when you're doing your chores at home, you're doing some cleaning and you need some motivation. Maybe it's when you want to relax at the end of the day. Maybe some of you are athletes and runners and put on your playlist when you go for a run. So consider those pieces to this question. If you want to share any of this information or any of your thoughts, your own insights, you're more than welcome to add some comments into the chat, and I'll pop in there while we're doing this particular activity and see what some of the responses are. If you feel like responding in there, you're welcome to do that. Our second question is, what style of music do you feel deeply connected to? So, what genres do you listen to? And if you're having a tough time maybe identifying a specific style or a specific genre, you can give some thought as to the artists that you love, the bands you love. Maybe there's a songwriter. Maybe there's even just an instrument sound that you really gravitate towards. So, I'll give you a few seconds to think about that as well. And then finally, when do you never, ever listen to music? This one is often sort of telling or surprising to folks because I think we have sound and we have music and we have things going around us all the time. And so we don't always necessarily think about when we are actively maybe choosing to have silence and to not listen to music. But silence can be just as impactful as listening to our favorite song. take a minute to think about that aspect. And again, you can write this down, or if you feel really excited to share something you've just learned about yourself with the group, you can type that into the chat. And you can also take these insights away and share them with your family and your friends. But these questions are important because they will define how you choose to listen to music, but they also often define how music therapists will use music with clients. And I'm going to pass it over to Pam so she can share a bit more as to now what music therapy is, now that you have some insight into your own use of it.
Thanks, Shannon. And I confess I've been using music a lot lately to help me get through those household chores that I just don't want to be doing. So I can focus on the music instead of the dishes. So, music therapy is a discipline in which credentialed professionals, or MTAs, use music purposefully within the therapeutic relationships they build to support development, health, and well-being. And that definition comes from the Canadian Association of Music Therapists and was most recently updated in 2020. From the beginning of recorded time, as the first instruments were created and language was just developing, music has always been used as part of healing across all cultures. The use of music in North America began to develop at the end of the Second World War when soldiers coming home from war were suffering what was then called shell shock, and we now know is actually PTSD. They were soothed and treated with music while in hospital settings, and it was soon discovered that music could be useful as a therapy for many other groups of people. The 1950s ushered in an era of growth for music therapy in Canada, with programs popping up throughout Ontario and Quebec. And one of the first of its kind, Fran Hermans, who you see here in this picture, led a project in Toronto that focused on helping groups of children move beyond the limits of their disabilities to create music together. The program was actually so effective that participants eventually began producing performances for the public. And this excerpt that I've just shared with you is part of the Music and Wellness exhibit at the National Music Centre in Calgary. So today there's more than 1,000 certified music therapists or MTAs in Canada, and there's 6 universities providing music therapy education. While we don't yet have education programs in all of the provinces and territories, you can find a few of them, as 6, as I said. So they're at Capilano University in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canadian Mennonite University in Winnipeg, Manitoba, both the University of Toronto and Wilfrid Laurier University in Ontario, Concordia University in Montreal in Quebec, and Acadia University in Wolfville in Nova Scotia. So as you can see from this slide, there's many ways to get your music therapy education. Between the 6 programs in Canada, there's a variety from getting a certificate or a graduate diploma all the way to getting a PhD in music therapy. Along with completing one of these programs to become a certified music therapist, or an MTA as the credential is in Canada, an individual must also complete a 1,000-hour supervised music therapy internship, pass an internationally recognized certification exam, which is administered by the Certification Board for Music Therapists, which is based in the United States, hold membership with the Canadian Association for Music Therapy, or CAMT for short, Oh, and sign a statement of adherence to CAMT's Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice. I know I got my MTA credential in 2007. Shannon, do you remember when you got yours?
I do. I got mine back in 2001. I was the number 242 of music therapists in Canada.
That's awesome. I think I was well, I know I was number 372. So you got there a little quicker then.
Just a little bit.
So a few other milestones along the development of music therapy in Canada that I'd like to share with you today. In 1974, the first music therapy program opened, and that was at Capilano University, or as it was called then, Capilano College. In 1977, the Canadian Association of Music Therapists was incorporated, and in 1979 was the first time that the MTA credential was awarded to anyone. Go. In 1991, JB Music Therapy opened. It's now the largest company in Canada. Sorry, the largest music therapy company in Canada. And Shannon can tell us a few more facts about that.
Sure. It started with our founder and the president, Jennifer Buchanan. And she started with about 3 clients on a weekly basis. We now have a team of 20 therapists, and we see, I would say, about 1,500 clients per week between all of us at about 160 different sites. It ranges from our littlest client being about 2 months old up to our eldest client being about 106 years of age. I know for me currently, right, this past week, my youngest client that I saw was 2, and the oldest client I saw was in their 90s. So our team does serve quite a range. We work in a variety of different areas with different populations, and mostly within Calgary, but we also have the opportunity to serve outside of the city limits. So JB Music Therapy has definitely grown over the last 33 years.
And with that growth, JB Music Therapy has supervised more than 50 music therapy interns that were on their way to becoming certified music therapists or MTAs. So if you ever need to find out if the music therapist you're working with is a certified MTA, and everyone on the JBMT team is, you can actually go to the Canadian Association of Music Therapists website. And when you go under their About tab, you can click on team members and credentials, and it brings you to this directory where you can enter someone's name to make sure they are an MTA in good standing. And here we have Shannon Robinson, and as she said, member 242. Um, Music therapists work independently with individual clients and groups of clients. And we also work in co-treatment situations with other music therapists and other professionals from time to time. We participate in documentation and team meetings at many of the facilities we go to. Some of the settings where we work include palliative care, neurorehabilitation, long-term care, community settings, schools, mental health facilities, workplaces. There's many more. Shannon, I'm sure you could add many to the list.
Well, I mean, we even work with individuals in their own homes. So, folks that maybe are in rural areas and can't access a music therapist in a city center, or individuals who, for mobility reasons or health reasons, can't leave their home. And so, that's another area or another location that we can still work with folks in their own home.
Absolutely. Thanks. So we're going to share a video with you now from one of our JB music therapists, Lori, who was working with a patient at the South Health Campus in hospital in Calgary. Is it coming through now?
I climbed a mountain, I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered
to tears many times with her music. It just gives me something to look forward to on a Thursday because I've been here for 2 months. Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my
I love the potential for change and healing that we can bring through music by creating a therapeutic, safe space for individuals and sharing together in a musical experience allows for that vulnerability and connection.
I loved watching that video. I could watch it again and again. It's just so beautiful. Um, so of course, we see many benefits to music therapy that come not only from the clients as they receive music therapy, but also from the perspective of the organizations where we're working and some of the gaps that we're helping to fill with our work. Some of those benefits include it's cost effective, it improves quality of life, it can boost immunity, lowers blood pressure and heart rate. It reduces pain. It can reduce stress and anxiety and depression, especially in hospital situations. It boosts productivity, motivation, and memory when you're at work. It makes repetitive tasks easier, which can also be helpful during the workday.
Like doing your
It can,
dishes too. Like
pardon,
doing your
Shan?
like when you're doing your dishes, Pam,
Oh, yes.
right?
Always comes back to the dishes with me. It helps with cognitive load. It promotes emotional regulation and focus, and it brings people together, ignites memories, and evokes emotions.
What makes us feel drawn to music is that our whole being is music. Our mind and body, the nature in which we live, the nature which has made us, all that is beneath us and around us, it is all music. So we're going to dive a little bit into where music lands for people on a physical perspective. And we have a couple brain maps here that show you that music really is everywhere. It's one of the key reasons why music therapy is such an effective form of therapy because music can access so many different parts of our brain, even if those areas have injury or illness. And we can still connect with our clients. Music therapists can still use it in an effective way to work on goals. So, as you can see, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but as you can see, there's lots of different points where music connects. For our motor cortex, this area of our brain is important because it involves movement. It involves our motor functioning. Well, so does music. So playing instruments, playing music, and movement to music happens in this part of our brain. And I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, when you're hearing a song, an upbeat song that you really enjoy, it's very difficult to sit very still. You want to move to the music. You naturally are tapping your toes or clapping your hands. And I've seen this time and time again with the clients that I work with, that it's just a natural response to music. The sensory cortex is important because it gives us that tactile feedback when we're moving and when we're playing, so we can feel that instrument. We can feel the vibration it makes. We can make note of where our fingers, our hands need to be when we're holding that instrument to create a specific tone or sound. Our auditory cortex, which is a bit of a given when we're talking music, is really important because it's what processes the sounds and the tones that we hear. That part is also important because we're hearing and differentiating sounds and tones that we like versus those that we don't like. It's also important because it can alert us to things that are important to make note of. So if we're hearing a fire alarm go off, our brain recognizes that that particular high-pitched, most often high-pitched sound that is not typically pleasing is an alarm. It alerts us, and our brains are able to make that connection. And then at the same time, our brains can make the connection with maybe a sound that we really do love. I love the sound of cello, so I really enjoy that kind of deeper stringed instrument sound. Our prefrontal cortex helps with the cognitive processes. It helps regulate our thoughts. It helps regulate our emotions, which is really key. And music definitely influences this and helps us make associations and helps us store that information. So when we're processing whether we like a song or not, and the emotions that are attached to that, our brains and our bodies remember that and store that. And so the next time we hear that song, we might feel the exact same feeling that we felt when we first heard it, and that maybe that feeling of exhilaration or excitement or happiness and joy that we felt when we heard that song. The visual cortex is important for reading music. If we're playing a song and we want to read the notation and read the notes, but it also helps with the processing when we're watching a performance, when we're watching another musician create music. So we don't even have to be actively creating the music ourselves, but watching somebody do it can elicit a great response in our brains. And you probably have experienced that when you've gone to a concert and watched somebody perform live or watched your favorite artist perform a song live. It has a different connection for us than if we're just listening to it. The amygdala is really important for holding memories and our emotional experiences. And I see that often when I'm working with individuals who are in later stages of their life with dementia. They still have that emotional response and that memory of when they loved that song, maybe back when they were in their 20s. Even if they can't remember, a family members now, they can maybe remember where they were back in their 20s when they heard that song, what it felt like, who they were with, what they were wearing. If they were in high school, remember your days in high school and maybe what the current trends were for clothing or your hair. I know when I was in high school, it was big hair. But I can also associate that big hair with very specific songs from that era too. The hippocampus is important for learning and for memory, and then also putting memories to music and the context of that. And the cerebellum, which is important for coordination, just in our daily lives with movement and that sort of thing, is also important for coordinating. If we're playing instruments, it helps. We can listen to music. It can help someone who maybe is working on regaining some movement, regaining a gait, regaining their walking. It helps with that coordination piece. It processes and regulates our rhythm and our timing, which can often also help us feel grounded. So when we have something that has a strong rhythm, that's repetitive, that makes us feel grounded. I know Pam is a runner. I am not, and maybe music would help me become a runner and help regulate me better with my rhythm. Pam says yes. Okay, great. Thanks, Pam. So that can happen in this area as well. And then we have the corpus callosum. I left this one to the last. It's what joins our two hemispheres of our brain together. And if any of you are musicians, so make note of this. It is larger for you. Musicians have a larger corpus callosum. So you can share that fun fact at the next party you go to and let others know that that's something that you have. The other thing that music does is It helps with the release of dopamine. So, dopamine is a neurotransmitter and hormone, and it plays a really important role in our body functioning with movement, memory, and especially in our reward and motivation centers of our brain. So, it just makes us feel like we want to do something. So, again, it's that motivation. It can help us get through activities, it can help us feel more energized. And fMRI results show that the researchers using these results are finding that increased dopamine activity is occurring not just when you're listening to music, but also when you're anticipating hearing that song, hearing those favorite bits of sounds and music that you love. This is really cool and significant because generally our reward or the pleasure areas of our brain are more associated with things like food. And medications are often used. And so we have the opportunity maybe to use music as well as those things. Serotonin is also a neurotransmitter that is associated with satisfaction and happiness and optimism. And I don't know about you, but those are things that I love having in my life and want more of. And so, definitely incorporating music, which will release serotonin, activate serotonin, will give us more optimism. Hopefully, will give us more happiness. And then on the sort of the opposite spectrum of things, because I've just been talking about all the things it adds, all the things music brings, it decreases, it gets rid of cortisol. So it reduces our cortisol levels. And cortisol is the thing that's making most of us feel stressed these days. So when you're sitting in your car and you're sitting in traffic, rush hour traffic, and you're feeling kind of anxious and stressed and your cortisol levels are going up, maybe turning on the radio, turning on your favorite playlist is a great way to help reduce that stress that we're feeling. So I'm going to get Pam to move on to our next slide.
So much information from that brain slide.
There's a lot.
So much research happening.
Our brains are doing a lot when we hear music, as you can see. So here's just another 3 really important proven outcomes across populations. So there's a 38% improvement in social communication for children with disabilities. There's a 28% boost in depression outcomes for individuals already in talk therapy. And there's a 45% improvement in adult depression. So you can see how these improvements are really important, and the research is showing how music therapy is becoming a very vital and important part of our lives.
Thanks, Shannon. Um, and as you can see on this slide, you can go to the JB Music Therapy website to see a lot of this research that's going on. There's many links there that you can explore on your own time. Now we'd like to share another video with you. So this video is from Pascal, who is a music therapist working at the Montreal Children's Hospital. And we'll just preface this by saying this video has been around for a long time, so it's a little bit blurry because it's not the most recent, but it's still so important.
Voulait danser, un ceinturon je lui donnerai, ceinturon je lui donnerai. When working with children, we have goals, and there is a process, a therapeutic process, but at a point, it's important to get their attention. Les fourmis marchent une par une, hurrah, hurrah. Les fourmis marchent une par une, hurrah, hurrah. With Karianne, she responds very well to music because it's one of her only ways to connect with the world at this point. She's blind. She got very accustomed to getting relaxed to music and then using the instruments, the more she develops, the more she's actually able to use the instruments for the sounds of them, but also for the tactile stimulation, because she loves to touch various, well, instruments, and when she touches and there's a sound coming out of it, then she's an actor in this world instead of just being passive or receptive in her bed. That's also her way to socialize through the instruments, through music, and to communicate and develop. On essaie avec l'autre main? Oui, c'est ça. Ça, c'est le fun.
So as you can see from that video, children have a really natural desire or affinity towards music and towards creating sound. They just naturally want to touch things, and that tactile experience, as Pascal in the video commented on, really helps with child development. It helps with stimulation, getting all those things happening in the brain that I talked about earlier, and getting the motor cortex activated, the sensory component of it happening. And especially in a hospital setting, music is really important with the relaxation and the sense of calm that children, or I mean adults in hospital settings too, need to feel, because it's an incredibly stimulating environment with all the sounds of the machines going on and off, and of course there's typically lots of people passing by, lots of hustle and bustle with voices and just activity happening. And so Pascal in that video is also using music to help the child feel a little more grounded, a little more relaxed, and not as overstimulated, which then is going to promote more healing.
Thanks, Shannon, for helping us understand how much there was going on in that video. There's so much. And as we can see in the different videos, music therapy utilizes quite a few different interventions. Some lend themselves better to certain situations than other, but all of them are part of a music therapist toolkit. So some of the other interventions we haven't seen yet, but are often used, include reminiscence through sharing of songs and memories. As you can imagine, this often comes of working in long-term care, working with people who have dementia, where it can give them that comfort and help them to feel something familiar and maybe reorient themselves a little bit for a period of time. Instrument improvisation is often used when working with children who might be on the autism spectrum, or children that have other developmental delays, as well as many other situations. Um, Both lyric analysis and music-centered counseling are often used working with at-risk youth and also with adults in mental health settings. Um, just the sounds in your environment can be really, really important. And Shannon, you have a great story about this one.
I do. And just before I sort of dive into that story, one of the things that JB Music Therapy has had the opportunity to do more recently are acoustic environmental consults. So we get to go into maybe a long-term care setting or a group home, figure out what they're already doing for music, but also consider the sound that's happening in those facilities, or at that home. So maybe there's again, that hustle and bustle in a hospital setting can translate into these settings as well. So how can we decrease those kinds of sounds, or how can we augment and make sound better in their site? Maybe it's a matter of adding in some different materials that aren't making the sound bounce against the wall, or maybe it's creating sound and music, using specific music at specific times to enhance the environment. So those things can be really, really critical. And I work in a school where several years ago I was noticing in one classroom in particular in this school, the vent was really loud, the air vent was really loud, and it just was this big sort of rush of air constantly. But what I also noticed is that the staff and the children were tired and less engaged. The children in this particular class were less engaged than the children in other classrooms. And some of those kids I had worked with in previous years, so I knew what they were able to do. And so this wasn't really necessarily typical for them. And I had kind of checked in with the staff to see what was going on. Was there opportunity to adjust this air vent, decrease the sound of it? And I checked in as well with, administration. They looked into all sorts of options, and we were just told that it wasn't a possibility. It wasn't something that could be adjusted. So we carried on as usual. The mother of one of the students, though, also noticed that this was a challenge, and she kind of forced her way up the ladder in terms of connecting with the powers that be, and just really wanted the best. She was a huge advocate for all the kids at the school, but obviously for her own child. And the next week I went in after she was able to communicate with some folks in the administration. I went in and the air vent was turned off and the sound was quiet and it was calm and quiet in the room. But what I also noticed is that the staff had energy and they were excited, and the kids were incredibly engaged, and they really responded well to all the things that were happening in the music therapy session. And in speaking with the staff, they also let me know that everyone seemed to just have more energy in general. So it wasn't just music therapy, but it was throughout the day. So that's just a story to give you some insight into the impact that even a sound that we maybe think is just white noise or just in the background can really impact our well-being and how we get through the day, how we engage in different activities throughout our day.
It's a lot to think about. Thanks for sharing that, Shannon. Yeah, the thing about how they had so much energy once that sound was gone, just really shows that impact that we wouldn't realize. Sure. So continuing with our list, music-supported relaxation. This can often be used in situations where a client needs help with pain management, whether that be post-surgery or if it's chronic pain they're dealing with. It can be really useful in that way. And then purposeful playlists. One really kind of neat way that purposeful playlists can be used is some music therapists will work with women who are pregnant and who are working on their birth plans, and they can create playlist with them where the client is choosing music that helps them relax and then music that helps them when they need more energy. And the list is created quite a bit ahead of time, like a few months before the woman is going to be having birth. And so then she can practice with the music, practice doing relaxation exercises when she's listening to the music that she finds relaxing. And then so on and so forth with the energetic part as well. And the neat thing is, if she's practiced enough with this playlist and they put it on when she goes into labor, it can actually help her body have those relaxation or strong energy um, responses, even without her having to do it as consciously, because her body has just learned to have those reactions to the music. And that's kind of very fascinating.
Yeah, that's how our bodies and our brains just make natural associations to music. And
Mhm.
it triggers it every time we hear those songs. It's great. So with all these interventions or all these different ways of using music, and by no means is this an exhaustive list that Pam has just shared with us, we have had to also be innovative in our work as music therapists to make sure that, you know, we're keeping up with technology and we're keeping up with music and we're keeping up with the different music therapy techniques and approaches. One of the ways that JB Music Therapy, and I'm sure all of you can relate, had to innovate quickly was during COVID. When COVID arrived on a Friday in March 2020, JB Music Therapy was seeing all our clients as usual in person. And that following Monday, all our clients called to say that we could not come in. So we had no clients to work with. But we needed to be creative and innovative in order to not just, you know, maintain the company, but also serve the clients. These are clients that are really, really important, that count on music therapy for reaching their goals on a weekly basis, and we wanted to ensure that we weren't letting them down. So we were able to shift quickly and start to provide virtual services to about 75% of our clients within that week, within 2 weeks, and do music therapy through a screen, just like we're talking to each other here today. This format has continued with us. So it's allowed the opportunity for music therapy to continue in a way, again, for individuals who have limited access to physically getting to a music therapist. Again, whether it's someone living in rural areas or somebody with challenged mobility or an illness that prevents them from leaving home. And it's also allowed JB Music Therapy and I'm sure other music therapists to provide services and programs nationally. So we have this really exciting program called Harmony at Home, and one of its primary services or primary programs within it is called Fun Drum. It's a core offering of the Harmony at Home series, and it's a therapeutic drum circle that's designed and facilitated by certified music therapists and is specifically tailored for persons with diverse abilities. So it's offered exclusively online, but we have folks joining us from Ontario and folks joining us from British Columbia, folks in the prairies, all coming together to create a really beautiful connection nationally across Canada. If this is something that you're interested in or that you know other people would be interested in, you can register for it on our website. So you just hop on our website, find the Fun Drum header in the headers at the top and click on that. It'll take you to all the registration information. But it's a way that we were able to innovate and create more access for music therapy services. Another way that we innovated is that we brought on a new member to our team, and this is Scout. So Scout is not the person with the mask. That's Tanya, one of our certified music therapists. But Scout is the screen that you see her leaning against. You saw Lori earlier in the video, and Lori's the therapist that's on that screen. But Scout is our robot. And Scout travels to wherever we need Scout to go to. In this case, Lori is the therapist that is controlling the robot. And so on her end, she's sitting at her laptop and she's able to move this robot, navigate this robot down the halls of the hospital. So that's where Scout is in this photo. We can get Scout into patient rooms, so where maybe a patient is on isolation and nobody is allowed in that room, we can still get in there to do a music therapy session. It has the ability to kind of shift upwards or move down or tilt a little bit so that we can also ensure that we're able to connect with the patient that's on the other end. So whether that patient's lying in bed or sitting up or wherever they are, it has that capability to move a little bit. And the patient can hear the therapist and the therapist can hear the patient, and they can engage in a music therapy session that way and interact and share music through this beautiful option of our robot scout. Another partnership that we've been able to have is with some developers in France who created a music care app, and we're using this in the hospital as well, where the focus is primarily to reduce pain, so for pain management, to help increase sleep and restful sleep. Again, in a hospital setting, sleep is not very easily had, so this app can help with that, and it's prescribing specific songs or playlists for patients to listen to, again for the specific reasons. And so the patients can take an app or an iPad that has the app on there and listen to that music to work on bettering their sleep, bettering their relaxation. And then JB Music Therapy also has a wonderful partnership locally and also nationally with the National Music Center that's located in Calgary. And if you haven't been to the National Music Center in Studio Bell and you live in Calgary, you need to go tomorrow or sometime in the next week. You need to go see their exhibit. If you don't live in Calgary and you plan to visit here at some point in time, you also need to go see it. It is a beautiful museum full of incredible instruments, really unique instruments, a collection of national artists. It has their clothing there. It has guitars. Randy Bachman's guitar is there. Has all these wonderful, wonderful exhibits. But the National Music Center is also wanting to ensure that music is being used for wellness. And so we have the music therapy initiative happening as well. This particular initiative started in 2018, and along with the Calgary Health Foundation and as I said, our company JB Music Therapy and NMC, we've supported and provided services, music therapy services at Foothills Medical Center and South Health Campus. And then in 2023, so just this past summer, we were able to expand to Peter Lougheed Center and Rocky View General Hospital. And all these programs are continuing to address the unique needs of patients in the hospitals through a range of different music therapy techniques, including singing and vocalizing and instrument improvisation, sensory exploration, playlist creation, all the things that Pam also touched on. And after making an impact in Alberta, this emerging national initiative is going or has already gone national to bring music therapy, increased music therapy services to families and individuals in Saskatchewan. So we're really excited that we have a partnership with the Ranch Arlo Society in Regina, and that we're continuing to work on expanding to other sites in Saskatchewan, other sites in the prairies. And to also help build this initiative nationally, the Jim Pattison Foundation has also generously pledged to match every single dollar that's raised. So that's also an amazing gift that we have to get the word out about music therapy, but also ensure that it's accessible to as many people as possible. And it's through our relationships with clients. It's through our relationships with organizations. It's through our relationships with families and the community, and strong relationships with local and national connections that have enabled JB Music Therapy to do this incredible work for over 33 years. And we're going to show you a video that gives it's a bit of a snippet. It's a short video compared to the number of years that we've been providing service, but it gives you a snippet into the work that is happening.
Every week, Jennifer Buchanan brings her world of music to people with physical and/or mental disabilities.
Over the centuries, the therapeutic value of music has been proven time and time again.
Leaders from different sectors are joining forces to realize the potential of music therapy and other musical modalities in health.
Music can tap into that part that helps them feel I'm okay.
It's very good for the soul, mind, and the body.
This hour has been going by really quite quickly. We're almost out of time already. We've shared a lot of information, and we just wanted to take a moment to ask you folks who have joined us tonight, um, taking all of this in and whatever you already knew about music and music therapy coming into the presentation. Where do you see music therapy going from here? How would you like to see it develop in the next year or the next decade? Um, you're welcome to share your thoughts in the chat or raise your hand and we can unmute you to share. We'll spend a couple minutes here. Oops. And if nobody's feeling excited to share with the group right now, that's okay. Maybe you'll take a Oh, here we go. I'd love to see more education offered through different areas of Canada. Abby, that's right. I agree. Hopefully, eventually there will be at least one program in every province and territory. Sure. Anyone have anything else they'd like to share about the future of music therapy? Okay, what do you think, Shannon? Can we fly through our final
Yeah,
slides
let's
and
we'll do the rest.
okay.
So something that you can take away with you, that you can take into your immediate future, if you feel like you want more resources, are these books that we're showing here on the slide. Jennifer Buchanan, our president, has written several books. So there's Tune In, which is more of an introduction book into music therapy and her experience as a music therapist. Wellness Incorporated is geared towards those that are health entrepreneurs. So whether you're a music therapist going into private practice or you're working in a different field in wellness and you want some key tips She's been doing this for a long time and has given her wisdom into this book. She has lots of great advice. The Wellness Well Played book and workbook that you're seeing there is her most recent book. And that will take you through some different exercises in how to develop a playlist or playlists for very specific purposes. So you get to identify the purpose and identify the reason that you want a playlist, and then it takes you through steps of how to create those playlists. She also talks a bit about the history of the mixtape. So I'm totally dating myself, but I used to make mixtapes all the time, and I would sit by the radio ready to press record when my favorite song was going to get played on the radio, and waited and waited and waited, and had to get it just at the right moment so that I didn't catch the announcer's spiel before or after the song, like hitting record and pause. It was all a thing. It's a lot easier now. My Body's Special is another book that is specific for children. It looks at, different bodies that we have and how they function. And there's a beautiful song that accompanies that. So if you want more resources and you want these books, they're available on Amazon and Indigo. We also have social media. So you can stay connected with us through our social media options here, and certainly reach out, ask us questions. We're happy to do that. And then, of course, we have our website. You can also sign up on our website at the very bottom of our first page, or any page really. There's an option to sign up for our e-newsletter, which goes out monthly and has research in it. It has upcoming events. It has just information about music therapy. So we can stay connected with you that way. Music may not make you a genius or rich or even a better person, but it perhaps helps to train you to think differently and to process different points of view.
Thanks, Shannon, for all that information. And this is a slide where we're just asking you if you'd like to give us some feedback on how you've enjoyed this presentation. So you can scan the QR code or copy the link. We will be sending a recording out, so you can also grab it then when you're ready. And we're a little bit past 8 o'clock, but we're happy to answer a few quick questions if anyone has a burning question. Thank you for all the kind messages in the chat.
Yeah.
And we wish you all a really good evening.
Thank you again. Thanks for joining us, everyone.